All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. Just after high noon, may I say good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Matt Murphy, and conveniently, this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Do I need to turn something down over here? I feel like I'm overmodulating. Jeff Malinoff is probably in charge of all of this, and he's probably the one that's screwing it up. One way or the other, we've got 3 hours of what I hope to be talk radio excellence on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Allow me to get through the pleasantries, Malinoff, and then I'll deal with you. It is Friday. It's August 16. It's 2024. Isn't this the day? Hey, KGB, fact check me on something. You ready? Ready to go?
Go.
I think this is the day Elvis died.
You might be right.
Well, that's what I just said. I might be right. That's why I said it, KGB. I think Elvis died on August 16th, 1977, if I'm not mistaken.
47 years ago. 47
August
years.
16th, 1977.
We should play some Elvis tunes in celebration.
Wait. Are we sure he even died that day?
You know, there's a great story behind this, but I found a DVD. You know, you get these stupid catalogs and magazines. Like, we get the Hammerkler, I get the Hammerkler Schlimmer or whatever it is. Hammerkler.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm having a seizure. I get the Joe Biden catalog, and it always has like something real fancy and expensive on the cover. Like the one that I recall getting in the mail had like a four-wheeler for $8,000 or something or another in the catalog. They'll ship it right to your door. But you get these other catalogs, and I'm flipping through one of these catalogs years and years ago, and it was a video about Elvis Elvis is an agent for the FBI, and so I got this DVD, and it is a fabulous, awful, horrible, horrific, bad take on what happened to Elvis, and the suggestion is that these guys were producing a documentary about Elvis Presley, and they asked for the FBI files on Elvis Presley, and they did a Freedom of Information request. And they're pretending like some of this stuff was like actual video taken, and it is so badly produced, and it is so badly done. But they show the video of them getting, like, they demanded the FBI files on Elvis, and they finally got them. But they said that we have to redact the files. And when they opened the files up, this huge box, this is supposedly in their office, they open the files up, and it's all this ink, the black ink where the redaction happened hasn't dried. And they're like, oh, no, what is all this? And the guy's like, ooh, get it off there. And he wiped. Ooh, if it hasn't dried yet, if we wipe this off, we can see what they redacted. And so they went through wiping all of it off, and they found his address. And this is supposedly like in 2010, right? So Elvis would have been 1935 is when he was born, if I'm not mistaken.
Got to be his 80s, late 70s, 80s.
Yeah, I think he was born...
January 8th of 35.
There you go, Jay Harper. Jay Harper back in the newsroom, filling us with knowledge.
85. He would have been 85.
So, in 2010, that would have been 75, but that's okay, KGB.
Oh, my gosh.
I got you.
Well, he knows.
I got you. No, I'm right. It's 65, and then 10 more is 75. 2020 would have been 85. Elvis technically could still be alive. I mean, 35 to 00 is 65. KGB, you're still working it out. I got you. Okay, let's do it this way, KGB. You ready?
I'm thinking 35, and then you add 70 years. That's 2005.
And then 5 more. Yeah, because that's when that happened. And now you add another 14 to that, and he would have been almost 90. Elvis will be 90 years old if he's still alive next year.
With how he was actually in the 70s, those videos of him, there's no way he would have lived to
what? He's eating fruit? He's eating fruit.
Fried bread and banana.
No. He stopped all that. He was eating a lot of grapefruit. Yeah. I think he was eating most of the grapefruit to try to poop because he was taking so many pills that he couldn't poop.
He had a heart attack by going hard on the toilet,
That's the suggestion. Yeah. That's the suggestion.
Well,
and right now,
massive heart issues, so that
it's not that you'll ever be invited to my home, but if you ever were, Jay. Now, Jay got a shot at it, a real good shot. You, not so much.
Well, I'm not going to... Okay, maybe I might plant some things in bugs there.
Look, I have an internal... My mother was a huge Elvis Presley fan, right? And so we had several items commemorating the king in our home. And I have a velvet Elvis painting that is prominently displayed above my toilet in my in the bathroom downstairs. in the guest bathroom. And it is displayed there because every king deserves to have his throne, and I think that's an appropriate honor for the king because that's where he died, right there on the commode.
Yeah.
Too soon?
No.
Okay.
It's long enough.
All right.
You know, Matt, two other icons passed away on this date. Different years, of course.
Okay.
Babe Ruth.
Oh, Babe Ruth.
Oh, wow.
1953, August 16th. And also Aretha Franklin.
What is with this day?
I know, on this date in 2018.
Well, there's only 365 of them.
Yeah.
Well, having three very famous, like probably some of the most famous people this country's ever had.
Well,
I mean,
sure.
Babe Ruth and Elvis, and you can put Aretha Franklin in there, absolutely. Die on the same exact, the date is just interesting.
It is. Babe Ruth, still, Jay, top 10?
Oh, by
Has
all
to be.
means. I still think, and I know people will argue, I still think he's the greatest player ever.
Well, he was hitting more home runs than entire teams.
Right.
At a certain point in his career, so.
He was like, it's funny to think about this. Like Caitlin Clark today, she fills arenas, she's stacked. Like that was what Babe Ruth was doing by himself in a sense in his time.
I think Babe Ruth made
more money, granted.
Well, no.
But I'm just saying.
Well, what I'm saying is that, he's a guy. Come on, Jeff. Give me a break. Come on, buddy.
I was using the terms of he was the only, except Lou Gehrig and everyone else, was popular as well, but he was just above everybody else.
The Bronx Bombers were incredible, and you're right. He was above everyone else. They named
and that's saying something how good that 27 Yankees team was.
Well, and he was making more money. I think the old line was that he signed a contract, and it was for $100,000 a year or something.
It was $80,000.
And you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
They said, you're making more money than the president of the United States. And he said, well, I had a better year than he did.
Right.
Well, he had a 2-year contract for $150,000. And I believe the owner of the Yankees said no one will ever make more money than that, which is funny to think about because there is a current quarterback. There's quarterbacks right now that are making $50 million a year, close to 60.
It's difficult to comprehend.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they charge it. You go to a website and try to get some tickets for a Tennessee Titans game, for example. I don't necessarily understand how they're charging. And understand, I'm not saying it's a little amount of money, but considering the amount of money that the NFL players are making, and I guess there's television rights and you're merchandising and you're selling all the merchandise, and that's where you're making a lot of bank. But I don't understand how they can sell a ticket to a football game for $150. And I know $150 is a lot, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get, but I think it more has to do with the sponsorships. Who's paying to get all those signs of Bud Light and everything inside the arena? Nissan Stadium is already paying a king's ransom to get their name on the new stadium. So it all comes down to, it's not really the public, it's more of the people paying to the sponsorships to get in there. That's what look how much they pay for the Super Bowl commercials for 30 seconds. It's closing in on $10 million per 30 seconds.
Kind of crazy. So, real quick to close the door on the Elvis story. I forget the name of the video. I still have it somewhere. But these people claimed that they were able to find an address that they thought Elvis was at in Los Angeles. And they pull up. They are playing this straight, and they pull up to the house as if it's real. Like this is we're filming as we pull up, and there's a pink Cadillac
of course
in the
there
front
is.
yard. And it says it's got a Nixon bumper sticker on the back of it.
Gosh.
And they walk by it and they look and they film looking inside of it. It's got a gun on the seat. And then they walk up and they think, and then this old guy that kind of vaguely resembles Elvis comes up. And the whole thing is we're interviewing Elvis Presley, and he went underground and became an agent for the FBI.
So he went underground with a pink Cadillac?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that he is hiding in plain sight with a big pink Cadillac, and he's got all of his awards. It's very, very
That's
stupid.
how you hide him. You hide in plain sight. You don't let anyone think suspiciously.
It's so stupid, it's good. That's all I'll tell you. It's so dumb. It is absolutely hilarious, especially after a couple of cocktails.
Do you remember the name of the guys that did it?
I can't. I'll find it.
I want to kind of find it myself because I need to see this now.
It's an Elvis Presley documentary involving FBI files. The FBI files, the Elvis files, maybe.
Oh, was it early 90s? Was this that? Because they had it. Remember, they had a TV show. Like they had a conspiracy show.
This was straight to DVD. This was not on television. This was not good enough to be on TV. I'll find it for you. It is 12:16 Super Talk 99.7 WTN, but that's not why we came on the radio today. We came on the radio to talk about Kamala Harris and her economic plan. So apparently she's presenting a speech a little bit later on where she will go full communist. We discussed it yesterday on the show, and I want to give a full-throated discussion of it today because I think we need to understand what price controls do to nations that attempt to use the government and the force of government to control prices, to control goods and services and the cost of the production and ultimately the cost of the consumer to purchase goods and or services. It doesn't end well. It has never ended well. And Kamala Harris is going all in. I suppose because they depend on the stupidity of the voting population not to understand how all of this goes. And as I said yesterday, I suppose part of this is a dependence on the idea that you will buy into her theory that there has to be a bad guy causing all of these high prices, and they've decided that it's not their horrific economic policy. It's not dumping a gajillion dollars into the economy and expecting that not to have an effect on inflation. It is instead these evil, mean-spirited corporations that refuse to stop price gouging. When the Washington Post writes an opinion piece that is entitled, "When your opponent calls you communist, maybe don't propose price controls," it's hard to exaggerate how bad Kamala's price gouging proposal is. That is the Washington Post. A democracy dies in darkness. Doing that, then you know you perhaps have a problem. I predict that this economic plan is going nowhere. If this is their presentation, we had a good conversation yesterday about the importance of Donald Trump being on message from now until Election Day. Well, I tell you this, he is on message when he calls this the Maduro economic plan, because that's exactly what it is. That's not hyperbolic. That's not exaggeration in any way. That is the real deal. Look to Venezuela if you want to see the end result of the economic plan proposed by Kamala Harris and her so-called economic experts. She claims she's going to crack down on excessive pricing and excessive corporate profits. When did it become the job of the government of the United States of America to demand that I was not allowed to make profit when there was demand for the product that I was providing? Why is profit such a dirty word for these Democrats? Why is profit such a dirty word for Kamala Harris? And these leftist socialists, I don't feel comfortable calling, I think it's an insult to Democrats. It's an insult to John F. Kennedy. It is even an insult to Woodrow Wilson to call these people Democrats. They make Woodrow Wilson's policies look downright Reagan-esque. I mean, they've gone all in. They believe, folks, this is not by happenstance, and I want to be very serious with you. Well, I oftentimes am. We have a good time on the show, but I just want to be real clear. The Democrats are saying it out loud now because they've decided the time has come where they can convince half of the country to do this because half of the country is either stupid enough to believe them or they're aware enough to understand that it will not affect them. It will negatively affect people they don't like. There are enough people in the United States of America, the Democrats are now concluding, that are either dumb enough or evil enough that they'll vote for socialism, which is why they're proposing it out loud. Now, you can talk to me all day long and twice on Sunday about the personality traits that you don't care for regarding Donald Trump and how Donald Trump says mean things and how Donald Trump says things that are off message. There is nothing that Donald Trump could say that changes what I just told you. The socialists are in charge of the Democrat Party now. And you Democrats that don't want to be called a socialist, tell me how this isn't a socialist policy. When the government engages on on this level at the means of production, when they are proposing that they have the opportunity, this proposal, I mean, voters want to blame high grocery prices on somebody. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they damn sure aren't going to allow you to blame them, despite the fact that the Biden administration's been in control and they've done nothing. I mean, they want to talk about the leveling off. They're talking about leveling off of growth. In other words, let me explain to you inflationary rates in a way that you'll understand it. In the way that those of you, even in Aniana, can get it. And I'm going to do that next. There are Democrats that want to tell you, well, inflation's going down. Inflation's not going down. The rate of growth is going down. Do y'all understand that? So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'll just go ahead and do it. It's simple. If I weigh 200 pounds and this year I gain 10 pounds and next year I gain 5 pounds, am I losing weight? Well, but the rate of growth went down. One year I gained 10 pounds, and the next year I gained 5 pounds. Year number 3, I gained a pound, so I'm losing weight. That's the Democrats' explanation of inflation. Just because the rate of inflation is going down doesn't mean that inflationary rates are too high. Inflationary rates need to be somewhere in the 1% to 3% range. We'll talk about all of these things. I'll feed you baby birds on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 615-737-9986. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. We haven't done any of the pleasantries. I got off on a different subject. Elvis Presley, and August 16th did that to me. It's episode 633. It's Locks for Trump Day 167. All will be explained. Friday's coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, and your call's coming up next. 615-737-9986. First Amendment Freestyle Friday on Super Talk. The best way to head off costly repairs, breakdowns, or even more expensive early replacement is to get your maintenance done on your AC and your heater units. Now, I understand that it's fairly late in the season, but if your AC is not running as it should, let's call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling and get him on the spot. Jeff Eddy never charges more than $125 for a maintenance call. No matter how many units you have at your residence, whether it's 1, 2, or even 3, they'll take care of them for $125, or oftentimes the cost point is much less than that. Plus, Jeff Eddy's not charging you overtime rates. He keeps those invoices small as a result because he understands that your AC doesn't know what time it is when it goes out. So whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or 7 o'clock at night, same rate from Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Thirdly, Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, when the time comes as an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, they can find the right product for you to replace your unit. I trust Jeff Eddy, and I believe you can too. Efficient Heating and Cooling. If your AC's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. Yeah, print it. Hello, folks. Matt Murphy for USS, which stands for United Structural Systems. United Structural Systems, here for you when you need them, folks. Your property is very important, as obviously, I mean, you're spending a lot of money on your home. You need to protect it. You need to make sure that everything's A-OK with the foundation, waterproofing, and your concrete leveling exterior to your home. Right now, USS is offering a back-to-school promotion. Let's talk about this. For any job over $2,500, they're offering you 10% off. Mention me, Matt Murphy, and SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. They're also offering financing with same-as-cash options available, no payment, no interest for 1 year. It ends on August 30th. We need to go ahead and get this done, folks. Not to be combined with any other coupon or a previously discounted quote at USS, but this is a great deal, and it's being offered until the end of the month. They do foundation repair, basement waterproofing. They do crawl space repair, mold treatment, concrete leveling, all right now, and you can call today for a free inspection. If you're not sure, but you've noticed some of the signs that your house might be settling or the foundation might have an issue, you need to call USS. They've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. 615-488-7855. Mention the 10% discount. 615-488-7855 or USSTN.com.
Word coming down of a possible breakthrough in the Gaza ceasefire talks. And on the anniversary of Elvis's death, an arrest has been made in a Graceland fraud scheme. And finally, a Tennessee plane crash taking the life of a popular dirt track race car driver. We'll have those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay Harper. KGB has found it. It was the name of the video. I do not recommend it unless you're in it. If you're in it for the satire, if you're in it for the funny, then maybe you'll be in it. I mean, I would say this. Is it worth the cost if you have a couple of cocktails or maybe, a couple of gummies? I don't know how you do it at your house. And watch this thing? Sure. It's called Elvis Found Alive. And it's being referred to in the reviews here on Internet Movie Database as a satire or a mockumentary. I don't think that it was filmed that way. Maybe it was. I don't know. But they play it straight. But yes, well, I'll just read you one of the reviews. As a fictitious account of the what if of Elvis's life and death, this mockumentary is entertaining with facts of Elvis's life and career. But what concerns me most is the gullible people who so desperately want Elvis to be alive, they might truly believe this is really Elvis. I believe that's hurtful and harmful to people. Folks, there's no way that Elvis is found alive. The voice impersonator does not have the voice of an elderly man. The impersonator overacts. Oh, this guy, this is just a hater. You know what this is? This is somebody that
party pooper.
It's just a party pooper. That's exactly right.
Because I'm looking at the trailer now because I'm not going to pay for this, obviously. They found the box, what you're talking about. There's that black ink inside the box.
Oh, yeah.
So they literally just painted it, threw it in there it splashed everywhere. You see the redacted. It's actually it's probably like tape. It's probably not actually just paint, I would assume. This is them just someone just went in with a paintbrush and just painted it, not even organized.
I don't think you get it.
I don't know. It's funny.
Off. The people at the FBI, they didn't want to be doing this. They had to redact it. They were using paint rollers and they weren't
getting paid overtime.
And they were like, to hell with it, just shove it in the box and get it out of here.
Yeah.
They didn't know that the ink wouldn't dry in the box.
They couldn't care less.
And that's how they could not. Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Couldn't care less.
You used it correctly.
Yeah, I don't do could care less. I do not use the.
If you say I could care less,
that's saying irregardless. My mom hates that.
Irregardless is not a preferred word, but I use it quite often.
Yeah, I think they put it in the dictionary though, even though it's wrong. And
yeah,
it's a double negative.
Proof positive that we've got to go to the news. It's 12:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, I have to follow that. It's 12:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got scattered clouds, 92 degrees. A complete weather forecast is coming up. The U.S., Egypt, and Qatar releasing a statement following 2 days of Gaza ceasefire talks, with mediators saying they will continue to work next week on closing the gaps in another round of talks in Cairo. Sources telling ABC News that progress is being made in the talks, though it's still too soon to announce a breakthrough. But here is an optimistic President Joe Biden.
We are closer than we've ever been. I don't want to jinx anything. But as my grandfather said, with the grace of God, good little neighbors, a lot of luck. We may have something.
Well, with all this Elvis talk, yeah, it has been 47 years since the icon passed away at his Memphis estate, and a woman's being charged with trying to fraudulently obtain the mansion and millions of dollars from the music icon's descendants. Here's ABC's Brian Clark.
Federal prosecutors say Lisa Finley plotted to defraud Elvis Presley's family out of millions of dollars and ownership of the iconic Graceland mansion by claiming that Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's daughter, pledged Graceland as collateral for a $3.8 million loan she signed before she died. However, federal prosecutors say Lisa Marie Presley never signed a loan, and Finley's entire scheme, including the documents she produced, was fraudulent.
In other news, award-winning dirt track race car driver Scott Bloomquist has died after a plane crash in Hawkins County, Tennessee this morning. According to the FAA, a single-engine Piper J3 crashed into a barn near Mooresburg at about 8 o'clock this morning. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office confirming to media outlets that he was the only occupant of that aircraft. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic has 2 locations to serve you. One is in Cool Springs. That's been open for over a year now. The other since 2014 in Midtown Nashville, Tennessee. Here's the bottom line, gentlemen. There will come a time for most of us where you lose energy and you don't know why. Have you checked your numbers? Most men don't. Sadly, we don't know our numbers, and you need to know certain numbers in your life, men, especially when you reach a certain age. You need to know your blood pressure, sure. You need to know your cholesterol number, and you need to know your T level. And if your T level has dipped below a certain level, it could be affecting your energy. It could affect workouts at the gym. And yes, in fact, it could affect bedroom activity, men. Let's not play around with this. Let's get to a solution. Let's go to Tennessee Men's Clinic to find out what they can do for you. One of their qualified urologists will give you an examination. They will get some blood work from you. They'll find out what your levels are, and we will get a plan of action that's guaranteed successful for you. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or give them a call and schedule that appointment today. Don't wait. Don't delay. 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for our good friends at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price At checkout, you don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Communicate with the show via the membersnutrition.com super text line or give us a call. Love to hear from you. Love turning a monologue into a dialogue. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can listen online on any streaming platform of your choosing. Just go to your streaming platform of choice. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. We ought to be there. And if we're not, let us know and we'll get there. You can also download our app and take us wherever you want on your smartphone technology, your laptop. You can listen on the radio, of course, from Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama and all points in between. And then there's Supertalk TV up and running for you masochists in the listening audience. Here I am, long flowing hair, locks for Trump Day 167, ladies and germs. It is also episode 633. Hey, KGB, what is today's title of our episode?
Well, to keep in time with the KGB theme we've had these last 2 days, it is... I'm going to pull it up again. KGB files on Matt Murphy could be revealed this Friday.
Oh,
KGB files on Matt Murphy could be revealed. Could.
You never know.
Keep them on the edge of their seats.
And that's a professional tease, ladies and gentlemen. Don't try that at home. That is KGB flexing his muscles, teasing you with potential information by the end of the show. By the way, speaking of a tease, Mike wants to know, does KGB come from the John Malkovich character in Rounders? Great movie, first and foremost. With you chick, you chick. Paid the man his money. Yeah, have you seen this movie? Have you never seen Rounders?
I have never seen Rounders.
Oh, my goodness gracious. No, KGB was a nickname for John Malkovich in Rounders. This is not in reference to that. It is in reference to Jeff and his last name. His last name is Malinoff. So I was either going to call him Smirnoff Vodka or KGB, and I went with KGB.
Smirnoff Vodka is just lazy. KGB, like there's some oomph to it.
Well, and also I feel like if there was a Russian agent that would embed himself into Supertalk 99.7 WTN's family and platform, it would come in the form of you. I'm not saying this is an insult. I'm just saying that you meet Jeff. He's a nice guy. He's pleasant to be around. He's friendly. He's fun. He's unassuming. You don't feel like this is the type of guy that's going to hit on your wife or girlfriend. You don't feel like this is the type of guy that's going to stab you in the back. And I think deep down he would do all of those things. He is the exact type of human being that Vladimir Putin and the KGB would use to infiltrate such a precious entity like Supertalk 99.7 WTN, such a piece of Americana as this radio station.
I don't know. I'm looking at myself on the TV. You can't tell. I have a good poker face.
It's exactly what the KGB would tell you. That's what they want you to think.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Chris says, kind of like John Cougar Mellencamp. I have no idea what that means, but that's very fun. What was the rumor that he was a part of the KGB? Was that right?
I think so. That's kind of it's a
long shot.
Yeah.
One way or the other, give us a call. Hit us up on social media. We'd love to hear from you. At Matt Murphy Show, if you want to hit me up on social media, you can also find us at 615-737-9986. So I just want to real quick go over the proposal that Kamala Harris is set to unveil today. In a news release Wednesday, the Harris campaign said that the first 100 days of her presidency would include the, quote, first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, saying that they wanted to set the rules of the road to make clear that big corporations cannot unfairly exploit consumers to run up excessive corporate profit on food and groceries. I have a few questions, and these questions are shared by the Washington Post. Now, think about this for a moment. When Matt Murphy, mentally insane Matt Murphy, and the Washington Post, communist rag that it is, when we agree on something, there might be something to it. So let me read verbatim from her press release that the first 100 days of her presidency would include, quote, the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, setting clear rules of the road to make clear, used clear in the span of like 10 words, which is stupid, clear rules of the road to make clear that big corporations can't unfairly exploit consumers to run up excessive corporate profit on food and groceries. What are these clear rules of the road, I would ask you? What are the thresholds to determine when a price exceeds the level that you would then determine it to be excessive? You see, they're not saying in the Harris campaign. Now, secondarily, I would ask, and maybe I should ask the question first, if this is such a good idea, why are they not doing it now? I don't know if you noticed, but Kamala Harris is currently the president of the vice president of the United States of America. That's a little bit of a Freudian slip because I don't think the guy at the helm is actually at the helm. Did you see him yesterday? He kind of made a fool of himself standing on stage, gushing, lauding her, the person that booted him out of his candidacy. Probably a good thing. So, if this is such a great idea, why are you guys not doing this right now? Right now. You're the vice president. You're the last person in the room when the president of the United States makes a big decision. He said so himself. Why are you not standing in the Oval Office advising him to do this right now if it's such a good idea? The American people, and if we had a media that was concerned with the truth, and this infuriates me. I was talking to Han during the crossover a little bit about this. I don't blame sharks being sharks. I don't mind so much that Democrats are so evil. It bothers the hell out of me that the so-called journalists in this country have completely abdicated their responsibility to the American people, and they just don't do journalism anymore. Because if they did, they would ask this question. If this is such a good idea, the American people are hurting now. Egg prices are up now. Meat prices are up now. Everything at the grocery store is causing pain and a pinch right now. We're having to dip into our savings right now. We're seeing the cost of gasoline right now. Why aren't you doing something now? Why wait? Is this not a legitimate question? Of course, the Harris people won't get in front of even friendlies because even the friendlies would have to ask this question. Even those knuckleheads, these snapperheads at CNN would have to ask this question. Why are you not doing this today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today, if it's such a great idea. Hell, better yet, Jason writes in, and he's exactly right. Jason wants to know, why doesn't the government just start producing the food on its own and charging the prices that it wants to charge when it produces the food? Why doesn't the government just take over these companies and run them the right way? If Kamala Harris is so smart, If Tim Walz is so smart, if the government is so smart about how to get this done and how to reduce prices to the end consumer, let's see them run everything. Well, Matt, that would be foolish. That would be communism. You think? The only calculation that I can accept is that they are either so dumb and so bought in to their socialist position that they think this is a good idea, or they are so convinced that you are dumb, or that enough people in the United States of America, I mean, this is the calculation, it has to be, that enough people in the United States are either dumb enough or selfish enough that they don't care that it's bad for the country because it will be good for them. They don't care if it ruins lives on the back end in the long term. It will be good for them in the short term. They just want to get their slice on the front end. That's the only thing that I can figure. I mean, and you maybe sprinkle in a little bit of Republicans are evil, orange man bad. What other calculation are you making? Because, and I'm not over exaggerating when I say this. Because I understand that if this is our pulpit and I'm the preacher, you are the congregation and in part the choir, right? And the congregation comes and we hold service on a day-to-day basis from noon until 3. And I understand that we have newcomers that come in every day and we have people that leave every day. And, you know, the congregation is constantly rolling over, but there are a lot of folks that listen to a lot of what we do on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I hope that you get a lot of different sources of information. I hope you listen to Hand, and I hope you listen to Mandis, and I hope you listen to Wilson. And sometimes we're going to be in lockstep with one another. Other times we're going to disagree about certain things, and that's okay, too. That's what America is all about. But I believe you're sensible people. I can't imagine that sensible people would not see this and just make a... I mean, just... It's never worked, ever. Well, it's never worked to the achievement of the stated goal. Now, some would suggest that it's worked quite fine in Venezuela for what Maduro truly wanted to do. Some have suggested that Cuba worked just fine for Fidel Castro and what he wanted to do. Some would tell you that any other country that has created this dynamic by which the state takes over the means of production, that whatever they say and whatever they do to achieve these goals is a natural consequence of wanting to achieve the ultimate goal, which is power and control of the general population. The most likely, because Kamala Harris has been, up until this moment, very, very vague about her policy plans. We don't know what the rules of the road are to determine what is or is not an excessive profit. Generally speaking, Kamala Harris seems to be disgusted by the idea of profit at all. The most likely template for the proposal is a bill from Senator Elizabeth Warren, Socialist, Massachusetts. You know how they say Democrat so-and-so or Republican so-and-so? I'm going to start calling these people out like they are. Elizabeth Warren is a socialist. And it's time that we said so, by definition. Don't blame me. Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris co-sponsored this legislation in 2020 when Harris was a senator. Warren's bill would ban, quote, any grossly excessive price during any atypical disruption of any market. It would also, I assume at some point you have to provide definition, although this bill doesn't. This bill provided no definition for the term atypical disruption, no definition for the term grossly excessive price. Instead, they left it up to the Federal Trade Commission to enforce the ban using any metric it deems appropriate. Hello, Chevron rule. You can't do that anymore because of the Chevron rule. The Supreme Court overturned this idea that you could just leave it to the executive branch and abdicate your responsibility as the legislative branch of government. I don't get to say this very often, and I'm going to say it now. As rightly stated in the Washington Post, you heard me. Quote, it's hard to, I can't even do it without laughing. I got to stop. I got to start over. As rightly stated in the Washington Post, Murphy said, comma, quote, it's hard to exaggerate how bad this policy is. It is in all but name a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every industry, not only food. Supply and demand would no longer determine prices or profit levels. Far-off Washington bureaucrats would. The Federal Trade Commission would be able to tell, say, a Kroger in Ohio the acceptable price it can charge for milk. That's not hyperbolic. That's not exaggeration. That's this woman's plan. She wants centralized government in Washington, D.C. to tell you, if you're a business owner, what the hell you can charge for your products. You should be scared as hell because there's a hell of a lot of people in Washington, D.C. ready to vote for this thing. And there's a hell of a lot of people that are going to go and vote for Kamala Harris. And she's saying it out loud, baby. They believe the country is ready for socialism. Are you? 615-737-9986. Back in a moment. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for my friends at Safe House. You know, Nashville Safe House for years, over 30 years now. They've been providing incredible quality safes for you, the people of Nashville and the surrounding area. They have more safes than you can shake a stick at. And I think you could shake a stick at a lot of safes. I dare say you could probably, in the span of a minute or two, shake a stick at like 100 or so. Well, they have more than that. As a matter of fact, they've got more than 200. You often see about 200 safes on the showroom floor of all shapes and sizes, of all brand names. But they've got even more in the warehouse. They've got one right for you, whether it's a gun safe, a jewelry safe, a corporate safe, a biometric. And right now, I encourage you that for the rest of the month, the Browning rebate special is going on, but it ends at the end of the month. Now, Browning is one of the more popular brands. They have one of the best fire ratings in the industry, if not the best. You need to take advantage of these savings and buy your safe before August 31st. When you stop by and say hello to Mark, ask him about some of these incredible rebates that you get from Browning and other models at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Go see Mark in person. Meet their Employee of the Year. You know who their Employee of the Year is? Joe Biden. That's right. Because he's gotten more people to buy safes than anybody in America this year. Maybe Kamala Harris will be in the running next year. Who knows? One way or the other. They're on 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery. Tell them I sent you to Nashville Safe House.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk?
Talk.
Okay.
TALK.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like. You're going to run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete this cement to glue themselves in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass.
On the
leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're battling it.
Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny. We're up to 93 degrees. The weather forecast is on the way. The U.S., Egypt, and Qatar releasing a statement following 2 days of Gaza ceasefire talks, with mediators saying they will continue to work the next week on closing the gaps in another round of talks in Cairo. Sources are telling ABC News that progress is being made at the talks, though it's still too soon to announce a breakthrough. But here is an optimistic President Joe Biden.
We're not there yet, but it's much, much closer than it was 3 days ago. So keep your fingers crossed.
Well, those that are looking to buy and sell homes, you may want to listen up. A new rule goes into effect tomorrow, yes, Saturday, for real estate brokers. It affects both buyers and sellers. Among other things, the move could make home buying a little bit more affordable. One change is that buyers will need to sign a written contract with the realtor, spelling out their compensation before they even start looking at homes. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
It creates more transparency from the onset. So if you're the buyer and you're entering into that agreement with your agent from the beginning and you set even a flat fee, maybe you say, this is what we're going to pay you no matter what, that could end up saving you money. You know, the agent will say, sure, we always want to find you the best home, but at the end of the day, a more expensive home would mean more commission for them. This might prevent that practice a little bit, and that they know exactly what they're making from the onset and you know exactly what you're paying.
Now we move out west in a very high-profile murder case. The DA's office out in Los Angeles says it's waiting for detectives to present their case for possible charges involving 4 men arrested in the murder of a General Hospital soap opera actor. Here's ABC's Alex Stone. He's in L.A.
Days after Johnny Wachter's family held a news conference pleading for justice, 4 suspects are now under arrest. 3 18-year-olds and a 22-year-old accused of murdering the actor. Micah Parker, a close friend of Wachter's, says the arrests are only the beginning.
An arrest is not enough. A conviction is the primary thing.
The 4 accused of killing Wachter in May when he found them stealing his car's catalytic converter.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. I've said my story many times on these airwaves that I had back pain and neck pain, and I needed relief, and I wanted to do so without having to pop pills, without considering, shooting up with needles that would block the pain, and certainly I don't want surgery. Well, I found my relief at the Dr. Gill Center. I am a testimony to how well the project and the program works. If you have back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, anywhere pain, they can help you at the Dr. Gill Center. But it starts with a telephone call. They can't do this for you. You make the call and you schedule the appointment, and they will begin the pain relief. It starts with an initial consultation where Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, or one of the other qualified chiropractic care physicians will examine you. They'll talk with you about exactly where it hurts, how it hurts. They'll get some x-rays from you, and then your first treatment is right there in the first appointment. So for $49, you get all of those things, and you get a path for success, a path for a pain-free life. And that is just an absolute salvation. It has been for me, and I believe it can be for you as well. 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Hello, my name is Matt Murphy, and currently I'm playing with my Donald Trump American flag doll. By the way, several of you have asked me about this. The name of the business. Yesterday, we had the owners of a business, Don and Melissa. They own the Bunker, which is down in Leaper's Fork. And if you've not caught the interview, it's available for you on podcast. Just go to 99.7 WTN and listen to the podcast. But Don and Melissa were nice enough to leave me this gift that I'm holding in my hand. As the great one used to say, my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. And it's a statue of Donald Trump embracing the American flag. And you can listen to him. Listen.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice.
Well, that's true. Thank you, former President Trump.
What's it say on the back? There's like something written on the back. Is it like some? Keep going. Keep circling it. That thing.
This thing right here.
It looks like
It's a white paper. It shows you all of the comments that Donald Trump will say with his own very lips.
That's a lot.
It's got like 17 different ones. Let's see what the next one is.
Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people.
I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, these are dishonest people. Anyway, thank you to the friends of the show, and this is a gift to the radio station, and we appreciate that. We'll keep that in a place of prominence around this studio, in a place where it will not get taken care of. Okay, coming up in just a moment, you know what I'm saying. I know how you do. I'm watching you. I'm talking to you.
I got a gift as well, and it's taken care of. It's placed in a nice, prominent place in my apartment.
And then I tweeted, I have many millions between Facebook and Twitter. It's great. It's like owning a newspaper without the losses. It's incredible.
That's a good one. Oh, that one's a good chuckle.
It's good. All right, Fry J coming up in just a moment after I grab a couple of telephone calls. Fry J is on the way, so go ahead and hit our man Jay St. Clair up. Also, you can hit us up for any of your questions, legal or otherwise, for Jay St. Clair. Hit us up on the membersnutrition.com super text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Your questions will be asked and answered on this radio show today. Bobby is next in Nash with a thought about the shutdown or a possibility of a shutdown. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Bobby. Hope you are.
Yes, sir. You guys do a fabulous job. Yes, sir. I've been hearing about the government shutdown. You know how they do, kind of dangle that around us every 4 or 5 months, and it's getting close to the election. So, why are we even trying to have a shutdown? We've been dealing the Taliban $50 million a week. We've been giving the rest of our enemy all this money, and for some reason or another, we got to shut our country down if they don't get what they want. And also, I wanted to ask you about all this COVID money. Where is the COVID money at? I mean, the school union president, look at how much money she got. Where's that money at? I think, for one thing, that most of the money, the COVID money, like everything else, once they give it to these people, they hold on to it, and then they turn around and give it back to the Democrats. What do you think about that, my friend?
Okay, let me start with the idea of a shutdown. There's going to be a shutdown?
Well, that's what I've been hearing, and that's what I've been looking at on the website. I mean, Mr. Johnson, they're not saying nothing about it, but you heard it from old Bobby, and they're going to try to dangle that over us here pretty quick. And if the Dems don't get what they want, then they're going to blame it on the poor old Republicans. We didn't get this, we didn't get that, and that's how they're going to try to get a few more votes during the election. You just check into it, my friend. I'm exactly right.
Bobby, I'm looking at an article here regarding the possibility of the Freedom Caucus is pushing House Republican leaders to condition government funding on the passage of a new proof of citizenship requirement to vote and create a deadline that faces Senate opposition. I'll monitor the situation for you and let you know. I don't expect that there will be any government shutdown prior to the election because, sadly, whether it is truthful or not, typically uninformed voters blame Republicans for a government shutdown, even if it's not Republicans' fault. In the meantime, Kamala Harris has started unveiling. She's given a speech today where she lays out this floundering concept of price controls on the part of the government. Did you see what else is involved in her economic plan? So it's not enough that she's stealing Donald Trump's no tax on tips idea. She's now stealing J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate running with Donald Trump, proposed expanding the child tax credit the other day. This was a week or so ago. Kamala Harris is now proposing that we expand the child tax credit. So the two good portions of her economic proposal have both been lifted from the Republican candidates, and they have full expectation that the mainstream media will not tell you. Full expectation. Keith and Kevin, you guys hang in there. We'll get to you momentarily, but right now it's 12 after the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, we do it every Friday, and it is a pleasure to introduce you, not to Friday, but to Friday.
Good morning, Americans. It's Friday.
Yes, it is. My man. Best friend in the world. My legal consultant. My life consultant. My golfing partner and gambling buddy. His name is Jay St. Clair, and he joins us on the program. Hello, Jay! What's going on?
Hey, buddy. You know, if I were any better, I would be my Secretary of Homeland Security.
She's doing pretty good, huh?
She's got life made. I tell you, she really does.
I want to come back as one of your dogs. That's what I want.
Yeah, our grandkid.
No question. Yeah. Either your dog or Mrs. Beasley, one of the two. It would be a pretty good life.
Well, they deserve it. They earn it, man.
Well, they do. I mean, it's not my fault. They're so dang cute. Jay, what's going on in your world? Everything going well?
Yeah, no, everything's going really well. I'm dealing right now with a guy who found, I guess Bill's not here today, but, we joke. We don't joke. I make the point. People call in and say, can I sue somebody? And I say it takes two things to file a lawsuit, $400 and a crayon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody posted online, I saw you commented on it, somebody here in Alabama has sued Nick Saban and a bunch of other people for $6 gazillion. That's what they've got in the lawsuit, written in crayon.
I want to
$gazillion.
I want to this person the filing, they have their phone number there, and people are trying to get me to call this Karen and get her on the air to talk about her $6 gazillion lawsuit. I think she sued like Nick Saban. I think J.D. Vance is in there.
Yeah.
A lot of different, prominent names, but this is one of the better examples of how you are exactly right, Jay. So often that it takes.
No. Two things.
When we have time, we'll break that down.
The reason that's on my mind is I've got a situation right now where I'm representing a company. I don't name them, but things go better with them in a smile. And this guy is suing. He doesn't have a lawyer, and he was. The court makes us talk settlement. And he asked for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I offered him hundreds of dollars. And so he's now bidding against himself. He moves down to 100,000, and I say no. He says, "Okay, well, I'll move another 100,000." No. It's just, it's fine.
Wait, so he thinks he's bidding against you, and he's really...
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. But it's not a very clever form of negotiating.
Jay,
we call it bidding against ourselves.
Right. Well, yeah, I know. I get it. Well, I have a question before.
It's like you go to buy a car,
mm-hmm.
and you say, "Well, I'll give you $20,000 for it." He says, "No, it'll be $30,000." I say, "Okay, well, I'll see you later." Well, how about $29,000?
Mm-hmm.
No, see you later. How about $28,000? No, I'll say, "Well, how about $27,000?" If you wait long enough, man, he's going to give you.
Right. I mean, we're just dropping the window at that point. If I don't move, if you move, what I've always been told about negotiations is, and Jay, you have been involved in hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of things where you got to move money. You got to figure out one person's one place and one person's another place, and you got to get somewhere in the middle. If I move in my negotiation and you don't move, I walk.
Absolutely.
You got to, and even if you have to come back later, you got to walk for a minute. You got to make that person believe that you're willing to walk, at least.
You cannot bid against yourself. You know, when Trump was first running back in 2016, I didn't know anything about him. And I said, well, I need to learn about him. So I bought his book. You may remember we talked about this, The Art of the Deal. And that really changed my view about Trump a lot. And he talks in there about several big deals, $100 million deals that he just walked away from. He said, you just got to be able to do that. And then he later came back and got the deal done. And it's, you know, it's the art of negotiating. It's not intuitive. It's something you learn over time.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about, and I think that many people in our audience that listen to us on a weekly basis understand that you and I both love motorsports. You get out on the track as often as you can. You normally take some summer months off, and I don't blame you for that, boy. But and we both still, you know, enjoy watching a NASCAR race every now and again, and really motorsports generally. And I am very curious your thoughts about what happened. You probably didn't see it live. I did. What happened?
I think I did see it live. If it wasn't live, it was within 15 minutes of it.
And boy, it was controversial as soon as it happened. I've never heard a driver be more honest. And I think that honesty might have ultimately, I don't know if it bit him on the tuchus or not. He probably was going to get bit one way or the other. But for those who don't know, Austin Dillon won the race last week at Richmond. And he did so in a... Jay, how would you describe how Austin Dillon won that race?
Well, here's the key fact, I think. You know, he was winning the race. He'd led a bunch of laps. It was a late caution, and so I had to frustrate him. So there was a green-white checker. They restart the race, and it's only going to be 2 laps. Well, the guy beside him, got ahead, Joey Logano, got ahead of him. And he got ahead of him by 3 or 4 car lengths. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't right on his bumper, and that, to me, is a key fact. And so they come around, and there's 1 lap to go, and he's 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of him. So they go into turn 3, the last corner, and he just way overdrives the car into the corner and comes up and hits, knocks him out of the way, and goes around him. And well, then Denny Hamlin, who's in 3rd, is about to pass him. And so he ends up running into him right after his spotter, another key fact. Right after his spotter comes on the radio and says, wreck him. You know, he wrecked him. And so they let him keep the trophy. They let him keep the prize money, but they took away his automatic entry into the playoffs and finding some points that don't really matter.
Well, and it amongst those of us who enjoy auto racing and enjoy NASCAR auto racing, it's been quite a source of conversation as to, because NASCAR says that was, I mean, and they're the ultimate deciding body. And you and I have talked about this in the past, right? Whatever Matt Murphy and Jay St. Clair think about any of this, it's their show.
No, it's their show. I guess we can Monday morning quarterback whether that's good for their product or not. But it's their product.
That's right.
It's clear they make the call.
Well, it's gotten a lot of conversation about their product, and you know, frankly, I enjoy it because I hate Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin so much. I'm not going. I mean, I'll admit it. I know that if it were different people in different positions, I would feel completely different about this.
Oh, yeah, no. If it'd been Chase Elliott, you would say, well, come on. I mean, what are you going to do?
Come on, man.
I had not thought about that.
It was fun. I was just curious because they said that this was over the line, but they never say what the line is.
Yeah, no, it's invisible line. But here's the line. If he was on his bumper or really even within half a car length, then it's a contact sport. It's absolutely a contact sport, and he can. I don't think it is out of order to bump a guy going in the last corner to win a race. I think that's racing. It's a contact sport. But to me, the line that he crossed is he's 4 car lengths back. I mean, he's not faster than the guy. He's not as fast as the guy. He's getting beat fair and square. and he clearly ended up driving the car. And it's not going to be able to control it in such a way where the guy just kind of bumps up. He's going to wreck him. You know that from iRacing. You probably have people run over you all the time where they just absolutely overdrive the car in the corner and they lose control. So that to me is the difference. If he had been within half a car length or less, I would say that's racing. It's hard racing. Not 4 car lengths back. He didn't have any chance of making a clean pass.
I would say, and I could be completely wrong, but I think without the Denny Hamlin part of it, they might have figured out a way to just look the other way. But with Denny, I mean, he didn't just wreck the one guy. He went and wrecked the second guy too that was about to get in front of him.
Well, that's a great point. And because, Eldon Sawyer said this in the press conference, that the Spider's comment did not help.
They told him to wreck him.
Wreck him.
And you can't really do this anymore in the sport because they have so much telemetry now. That they can look if they want to look, and they can figure out when a driver's kind of. But I mean, what I wanted to see is Austin Dillon come out of the car and go, I hit my brakes and I just went to the floor.
Yeah. It's brake fade.
I lost my brakes and there's nothing else I could do.
That's what Matt Kenseth did when somebody took him out and he came back on the racetrack and just wore him out. Just T-bone. He said, "Man, I lost my brakes. I'm so sorry."
Did you see where you mentioned iRacing? And for those that don't know, for Janet in the back of the room, iRacing is a virtual simulation of motor racing. They have all kind of different kind of cars, and they do NASCAR. And the iRacing folks came out on Twitter and said, please don't race like this on iRacing.
When iRacing says that, then he's crossed the line. That was funny.
Jay, we got a lot of legal questions on the line, and we're going to get to each of them in just a moment with Lindsay and maybe some Keith and Matthew, and a lot of questions on the Super Text line as well. If you have a legal question, let's go. 615-737-9986. Back with Fry Jay in a moment. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and it's time to talk about the Glock Store, is it not? I mean, the Glock Store is good at what they do, friends. The Glock Store provides incredible prices, incredible selection, incredible service, incredible shooting rooms, never lanes, that's shooting rooms. And right now, I'm here to tell you about the party atmosphere that you can have at the Glock Store. I understand that those two things might not seem to go together, but if you think about it, they certainly do. If they're the best place to buy a Glock and the best place to learn and the best place to shoot, and they've got a great facility, and I've told you about that quite a bit. What about scheduling your next party at the Glock Store? That's right. You can get your party started by emailing them at party@glockstore.com. Tell them what day and time you're thinking about, the number of people you're thinking about. They have a VIP room with a full kitchen, a dedicated shooting room, instructors available for you, and shooting activities designed for every shooting level, and they include all ammo with their parties, including even the full auto option. It does not matter the level of expertise because you'll have an instructor right there with you. So they're going to keep safety first and foremost. But there's no party like a Glock Store party, so find out if it's your place not only to shoot, but to party by contacting them. Party@glockstore.com. Minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere off of Elm Hill Pike and Briley Parkway. It's the one and only Glock Store.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
A new report on car insurance rates has been released, and hold on to your wallet. And North Carolina residents, they're breathing a bit easier now that an escaped inmate is back in custody. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. Appreciate you. A couple of Jays. Jay Harper in the newsroom. Jay St. Clair on our hotline right now. Our Friday edition continues. If you got any questions for Mr. St. Clair, get them in here, either via phone or via membersnutrition.com super text line. Jay, before I had a chance to ask you, you said this would happen. You sent me a piece about a very famous dirt track racer that died in a plane crash. And I just had a guy send me, as we were talking about NASCAR and whatnot, I had someone send me a screenshot, said legendary dirt late model driver Scott Bloomquist died in a plane crash near his home in Mooresburg, Tennessee. And I think that's north of Pigeon Forge, if I'm not mistaken. Right. 60 years old, and I just a name that our listening audience probably recognizes. And I didn't know the name before you sent it to me, but you were familiar with this guy as kind of a guy that everybody in the industry or that was familiar with what you do.
I think there's probably a consensus, Matt, that he is the greatest dirt track racer ever in the history of the world.
Oh, wow.
He was just that good.
Wow.
And what I'm hearing, he also loved vintage airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
He was 60 years old. And he and his dad, there's kind of their hobby was vintage airplanes. So apparently he crashed one of his vintage airplanes this morning on their property. He's got a landing strip, I guess, on his property, and died at age 60. And, I mean, just this guy is incredible. I don't want to take up a lot of listeners' time talking about it, but I would say everyone would, I think, pretty much agree is the greatest dirt track racer ever, greater even than Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, I think, would tell you that Scott Bloomquist is the greatest dirt racer ever in the history of the world.
You and I had a great conversation riding back from Jasper, Alabama one day about how dirt track racers think that their version of racing is the pure racing, right?
Right.
And, you know, and paved track racers that, no, y'all are silly. Y'all need to graduate to some pavement and get on the pavement and do something. Right. There's a great debate, but dirt track racers are convinced that that's the purest form of racing there is.
Yeah, no, pavement's just for getting there. That's what they say. Dirt's for racing, pavement's just for getting there.
I love it. And when you find, and you're right, I mean, you know, I never really spit the bit. You've been saying it for a long time. I recognize it. He's not my favorite on the track, but in terms of pure racing ability, you'll find no better than Kyle Larson right now because anything he gets in, he does well in.
No, that's exactly right. I asked one of my racing mentor one time who was the best driver he knew, and he named a guy, and I said, why? He said, because you can put him in any kind of vehicle, and he's fast. And that's what Kyle Larson is.
I forget. I want to say that it was Suge Jordan, but I could be wrong. But he said it about Paul Bear Bryant. And whoever it was that said that.
He can take yours and beat mine, or he can take mine and beat yours.
That's right. That's right. All right, quick timeout. Jay Harper's going to give us some headlines, and we'll get to some legal questions coming up. I promise. There's several of you on the line with us, to include Lindsay, to include Ron. We'll get to you and many on the Super Text line, 615-737-9996. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, 31 minutes past 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sun, 93 degrees. A complete forecast is coming up. Well, as if we don't pay too much already, by the end of the year, get ready to pay more for your car insurance. That's according to a new report. Alex Stone has the wonderful news.
In many areas of the country, both auto and home insurance rates are skyrocketing, and a new report by the insurance tracker Insurify says auto policies are about to go up quite a bit more, 22% in 2024 as a result of underwriting losses in recent years and the rising cost of car repairs and the cost of new cars. but it will be worse in some states than others. The researchers predict California, Missouri, and Minnesota will see rates go up by over 50% by the end of the year.
We now turn to North Carolina, where an inmate who escaped from a transport van earlier this week has been recaptured at a hotel near Charlotte. North Carolina Department of Adult Correction Secretary Todd Ishii says that Ramon Alston was recaptured without incident, along with an accused accomplice that they also have in custody. Now, this fellow would not give any details on how they tracked Alston down or how they knew where to find him.
Alston is in a cell at the high security maximum control unit at Granville Correctional Center. Granville is the most secure unit in our state prison system.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Brentwood Hearing Center. I sat down with Ronnie at Brentwood Hearing Center some months ago. I guess that's about a year ago or so now. And we talked about the different types of people that come in and the different age groups that come in. And it's all kind of ages and it's all kind of different walks of life. But everything boils down to this. If you cannot live the life that you want to live, whether it's outdoor activities, whether it's jumping in the pool during the summertime, whether it's conversing with family and friends at an evening meal, because of your hearing, their doctors of audiology are here for you, and they have tailored solutions for patients of all walks of life and all ages. Hearing loss knows no age, and sometimes, sadly, folks wait years to address their hearing. You feel like it's going to go away. You feel like, maybe you can get beyond it or get over it. My friends at Brentwood Hearing Center, they have different styles and different manufacturers of hearing aid, so they can find the right hearing solution for you. That's part of the that's a wonderful part of Brentwood Hearing Center is that they can select the right one that's for you. So give my friends a call at Brentwood Hearing Center. Talk to Ronnie or one of his doctors of audiology about an appointment today. BrentwoodHearingCenter.com is the website for more information. BrentwoodHearingCenter.com or 615-377-0420. 377-0420. It's better hearing for a better life with Brentwood Hearing Center. There's a lot of reasons to love Jay St. Clair. I mean, you guys know I love him to death. He's my best friend. My legal go-to, my life consultant, my gambling buddy, my golf partner. But there's another reason today to love him, because Jay is here with Fry Jay. If Jay were not here, I would feel compelled to let you listen to Kamala Harris and her economic speech that she's delivering right now out of Raleigh, North Carolina. But because we have Jay on the line, we don't have to do that. So it's another, a bullet dodged. Another reason to love Jay St. Clair. Hey, Jay, we're going to try under the Harris. I know this is not necessarily the reason we have you on to talk with us, but I know you monitor this. We're going to have price controls again. Do you remember Nixon's price controls back in the early 70s? I don't quite remember those.
Yeah, it's like gas. Well, you don't remember gas lines snaking around gas stations for blocks.
I don't.
That was when they did gas rationing. And, this was all when I was in college. This is right about the time I learned about Milton Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually wrote a paper for the University of Tennessee when I was there. I was some kind of page out for the summer. And it was the paper was about, it was for the state. And the question we were analyzing is what would happen if they put price controls on gasoline if the state of Tennessee. Apparently they were considering it. And so I know a lot about that subject. And the short answer is that it would be a disaster.
Milton Friedman, I pulled this quote. I actually pulled it yesterday, and I saved it for today because I knew I'd be talking about Harris's proposals. Milton Friedman said, "We economists don't know much, but we know how to create a shortage. If you want to create a shortage of tomatoes, just pass a law that retailers can't sell tomatoes for more than 2 cents a pound. Instantly, you'll have a tomato shortage." I mean, he's right. He's right.
Well, I was just reading about him this morning. There was a lot of people that say he made, well, there's difference in opinion. I get it. But a lot of people say he was the greatest economic mind in the history of the world. One of his greatest quotes, I thought, was, if you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there would be a shortage of sand.
It's true. Oh, it's true. But Harris says she's going to work to pass a federal ban on price gouging on food. And one thing we might have going for us, I was doing a little research and I thought of you this morning, that most likely what she's going to use as a model is this Elizabeth Warren thing that she co-sponsored in 2020. Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And the legislation in 2020, because they've been very vague on this, but in 2020, it would ban, quote, any grossly excessive price during any atypical disruption of the market. Now, everything is, the devil's always in the definitions, right? And so when you look for a definition of those terms, they don't provide them. Rather, they say that the bill empowers the Federal Trade Commission to enforce the bans using metrics it deems appropriate.
Yep.
Now, I thought of this, Jay, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if I'm an attorney, and let's say this thing gets passed, could I not argue? I mean, isn't the Chevron decision important in terms of?
Yes.
I mean, couldn't I argue they're not allowed to do that anymore?
I am so glad you connected those dots, man, because this is a hobby horse of mine that I've been talking about for me.
Yes, I mean it has been on your mind for as long as I've known you.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you for connecting those dots. And yes, they've been passing laws like this for decades. Well, I don't know that they can do that. I mean, they can still pass the regulation, but it may not stand up. Where they need to get to the point where they quit passing laws that gives the real legislative authority to the bureaucrats and put it in the law. And so, no, you're right on the bullseye, my friend, and that just makes me like you that much more.
Well, I appreciate that, but I just listen. And you were on this years ago. I remember you saying that the problem is that the lawmakers are too lazy or too unwilling to do the hard work, to define the terms and to get into the details, and they slough that off to the executive branch. And it's one of the reasons that I recognized at the time that it happened how important Chevron was to the future of the bloat within the federal government.
Yeah, no, it's just very well said.
Let's talk to a few folks. Let me see. I'll do that real quick to lock Jay in. And let's talk to Ron in Beech Grove, who has a thought or a question for our man, Jay St. Clair. Hello, Ron.
Yes, I have a question. I'm 74 years old, and I have a beautiful wife, and we've been together 24 years, but we're not legally married. Mm-hmm. And she has a son, which I don't really get along. Could he, if she was to pass away, could he come in here and take her part of the house and land?
Well, she needs to have a will. Even though you aren't legally married, there is this concept of being common law married. And if y'all have held yourself out as husband and wife, you know, if everybody thinks of y'all as being married, if you have joint bank accounts and so forth, you may be legally married. But even still, the spouse only takes half, and then so she needs a will. I mean, the best solution to this is she needs a will.
Okay.
The house is in mine and your name.
Yeah, the house is in both our names.
Oh, okay. Well, then is it with a joint tenancy with right of survivorship, or are you tenants in common? Sorry to use technical terms, but there's two ways to own property jointly. One is that it's called with right of survivorship, so that if one person dies, then that person's share goes to the other person. That's the way you want your deed.
Yes, that's the way we want it.
And if you don't check your deed, and if it's written that way, then yes, whoever dies first, their part of it goes to the other person.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about anybody coming in and trying to take part of the house or whatever.
Absolutely. It passes outside the estate. You don't have to hire a lawyer. It just happens by operation of law. So just get your deed, check your deed, see if it has right of survivorship, you're in good shape. If you look at it and you have any questions, you can find me on the internet and you just reach out to me in my law office and I'll help you. This is a simple problem, but it's an important thing and you need to get it right.
Okay.
So look for Ron, Jay saying you're saying look for right of survivorship on the deed.
Yeah, joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Okay, that's one you're going to be looking for on the deed.
There you go, Ron.
And it's a great question. These are just the kind of questions I'm glad people call in with, because this is a very simple thing to fix. It's very cheap, but man, if you don't have it right, it causes all kinds of problems, Ron. I really, really appreciate you calling.
Jay, 9511 writes in and says, how do I fix a court case that has no adjudication on it that was charged as a minor in another state 26 years ago? Boy, that seems... Sealing my minor records didn't change. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what he's saying. He had a case. This guy had a case 26 years ago. He was a minor. But sealing the case did not change the fact that it comes up on his background check.
Wow. Well, that is going to be really, really tough. I'd like to know what the other state is. I really need a lot more facts to help you with that one, sir. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Getting a conviction off your record from 26 years ago is not a simple task. I hate to say this, but I'm just going to tell it like it is. You're probably going to need a lawyer to help you do that. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to need a lawyer in the state where the conviction is on the record. That's not going to be simple.
Let's see. A couple of other questions from our membersnutrition.com super text line as soon as it loads up here. Jay, I bought a piece of property from my father years ago. He had a loan collateral on the property, which was fine at the time. Fast forward, the bank he had the loan with decided to sell the loan, and they want the money paid in full. Will the bank go after my father and his house first, or come after my property first?
You know, it depends on is there a mortgage, right? I mean, when he took out a loan, he probably gave them some kind of collateral for that. And so was the collateral that he gave, did he give him a mortgage on his house, or did you give him a mortgage on this piece of property?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know what the loan documents say. There's probably a mortgage in connection with it, and we can't answer that question until we know what the mortgage is. If he mortgaged this property, then yeah, if the money's not paid, they're gonna come foreclose on this property. If he mortgaged his house, if he put up his house to get the loan, and it's not paid, then they're gonna go get his house.
Okay.
So we just have to know what the paperwork says.
Jay, question for Jay St. Clair. Hypothetically speaking, I always love it when they start this way.
I have a friend.
I'm a friend of a friend. Hypothetically, no, it gets better. This one does. Hypothetically speaking, if one should find themselves slightly rubbing up against another vehicle because they underestimated the proper turning radius, and then waited for 10 minutes for said vehicle's driver to show up with no availability, so a note was left with a phone number stating that hypothetically that said vehicle rubbed up against theirs and transferred a little bit of paint, which hypothetically rubbed right off with some saliva and a thumb. Right. While placing the note on the windshield of said vehicle, owner shows up and agrees there's no damage. They're very laid back, and they don't give it another thought, hypothetically.
Okay.
When said driver of the other vehicle went home and told her husband, hypothetically, and I'm just reading it as it's written. There's a lot of hypotheticals in here.
I like this guy a lot.
Husband texted back that they need a picture of the front and back of our insurance card that paint had rubbed off down to metal. If, hypothetically speaking, the husbands of these two female drivers got into a texting argument where one husband is demanding proof of insurance and the other husband is saying, heck no, but please send pictures of said damage and we'll meet in person and settle up if damage actually exists. Mm-hmm. If hypothetically no police were summoned and there's no police report taken at the scene, however, this other husband has figured out from a phone number what insurance we have and has already had their insurance company reach out to us, hypothetically, should we worry about any of this in a legal sense?
You have so many hypothetical barriers, safety barriers surrounding you regarding your friend's hypothetical problem with a parked car. I would not worry about it because, I mean, here's the only thing that can happen, right? They're going to turn it into their insurance company, and the insurance company is either going to reach out directly to you and say, hey, you owe us $500 or whatever, or they're going to reach out to your insurance company. Once they reach out to you, you're just going to turn it over to your insurance company. And it'll be two insurance companies talking to each other. It's not going to affect you at all. Your insurance company is not going to want to pay these people. So now I give this legal advice a lot to my clients. If I were you, I would worry more about getting hit by a meteor driving home tonight than I would about this hypothetical situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. 0397 wants to know if Kyle Busch listens to WTN. I have no idea what that means, but it's pretty funny. I don't know what that means. All right, and here's the one I'm going to end on, Jay. This is the last one for Jay St. Clair because we got to go to a break. Ben has written in and says, Jay, as a University of Georgia Bulldog fan, do we, and I assume he's including me in this, have to pay property taxes because we live inside the head of UT fans?
I expect that sort of thing from Florida fans. I think Florida fans are the worst.
Yeah, they are. We agree with that.
They're the lowest class. So, that's real funny.
Hey, y'all got a good team.
Is he in 8th grade or 10th?
Oh, man, we're low rent. Us Georgia, we get two little natties, and this is what we do, Jay. I mean, you can't put the class in UGA. Jay, you know how much I love you. Thank you, brother, for everything.
I love you, man.
Take care.
Hey, listen.
Hey,
we got to get back and recreate what we did over in that
oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, if that had gone on for another night or two, I would have just stayed over there for the rest of, I mean,
retired.
I would have retired on your, do you use your left arm or your right? Do you use your left hand or your right hand, Jay?
No, right.
Right hand? Yeah. I would have retired on that right hand of yours.
Yeah, it was fun, buddy.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
See ya. There's Jay St. Clair, 153 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in. All right, friends, Savory Spice is here for you. Why not go out this weekend? I would encourage you to do it if you're grilling over the course of the next several days. If you're thinking about tailgating down the road, because it is football season after all, it's time to get with Savory Spice. They have so many different grilling items, so many different grilling flavors, so many different grilling tips. They've got rubs, and they've got different things that you can utilize for grill or for tailgating, and they are so delicious. Find out more at Savory Spice. I mean, it's one thing for me to tell you all about this deliciousness. I absolutely love it. They've got the Spice and Easy products. I mean, if you don't know your way around a kitchen, I mean, guys, if you're trying to impress the ladies in your life and you want to cook something fancy, go to Savory Spice. Talk to Holly or David or any of the rest of the crew over at Savory Spice and suggest that they point you in the direction of the Spice and Easy line of product. You'll absolutely love it. Whatever you're looking for, they have it at Savory Spice. They've got a better quality and a better selection than anywhere else in town. The people that know their way around a kitchen know their way to Savory Spice, and I encourage you to get there too. L&L Market on Charlotte Pike in Nashville or just off the square in Franklin. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the delicious Savory Spice.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk? Okay.
TALK.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the Longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like, going to run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete the cement to glue themselves in.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass,
on the
leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're battling it.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny on this Friday, and it's hot. 94 degrees. The weather forecast is coming up. President Biden says negotiators are closer than they've ever been on reaching a possible ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. During an Oval Office event, he said a deal is much, much closer than they were just 3 days ago. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge, he is in Tel Aviv.
The gaps between the two sides have narrowed, so that's a positive sign, but we're not getting much from Hamas tonight. Hamas are not even formally at those talks. The other positive indication is that an Israeli source is saying Secretary of State Antony Blinken is coming here to Israel on Sunday. And look, he wouldn't be coming here if there wasn't something worth sitting down face to face with Israeli Prime Minister to talk about. So therefore, there is momentum in this process.
Back here in the U.S., Memphis to be exact, 47 years to the day that Elvis Presley died. Federal prosecutors say that one woman tried to defraud Presley's descendants of millions of dollars, as well as his iconic Tennessee estate, Graceland. ABC's Brian Clark has more on today's arrest and the criminal charges.
Foreclosure on Graceland was stopped in part because of notary Kim Philbrick. She was said to have notarized Lisa Marie Presley's loan that pledged her late father's estate as collateral. But she says she never met Lisa Marie.
If I didn't say that I didn't notarize it, what would they have done? Would the foreclosure gone through? I don't know.
Federal authorities now say they know there was a fraudulent scheme and they believe Lisa Finley of Missouri was behind it. She's been arrested, charged with mail fraud and aggravated identity theft.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Oh, yeah, it's hot outside, and the pests that are out of doors want to get indoors into your home and steal your stuff. I call these pests communists. Now, I understand that you can call them a lot of different things, but they are pests for a reason. And let's talk about U.S. Pest, where they conquer those things that bug you. They take care of the things that bug you. U.S. Pest continues to educate families and local businesses on why pest control is so important. The entire purpose of pest control, their very existence, is found in the value of its key role, providing insect and rodent-borne diseases, or I should say preventing insect and rodent-borne diseases. They provide relief from these things. As a leader in the industry, U.S. Pest, with their team, J.K., Erica, and the rest of the gang, they put their focus on protecting public health. They protect families and their homes from infestation and harmful pests such as spiders, bed bugs, rodents, stinging insects, mosquitoes, ticks, cockroaches, and so much more. And then, not to mention the termites. Oh, my goodness. Termite protection is so important. It's an absolute necessity in Tennessee. If you're not happy with your current pest protection, or if you don't have any pest protection, might I recommend a free inspection from U.S. Pest. They're not going to try to high pressure you. They're just going to tell you the real deal on what you have and what you can have with U.S. Pest. Call today at 590-1260. 590-1260 for U.S. Pest. Online, uspest.com. Thank you much to Jay St. Clair spending some time with us today. During our Friday segment, we continue. It's Matt Murphy and you. First Amendment Freestyle Friday continues on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Kamala Harris in Raleigh, North Carolina, has laid out her vision, her economic plan. She was just doing this as we were speaking. I've got a couple of clips for you. Kamala Harris lays out her economic vision in her first major policy speech. She has still, I guess you could say, zero questions. I mean, if you count the question on the tarmac, there was one or two questions that she accepted on a tarmac when she and President Joe Biden were receiving some individuals in a prisoner swap that were coming home to the United States of America. Kamala Harris went out there and she answered, I think, one or two questions.
Hi, how are you does not count.
Yeah, that's right. But other than that, she has never sat down as a presidential candidate, to my knowledge, I mean, in the 2024 election cycle, and answered any question from any member of the press. And she continues to refuse to do so to any member of the press, saying, oh, we'll do an interview before the end of the month. Meanwhile, it's August 16th. However, she's giving us a lot of meat to chew on with regard to her economic policies that are straight out of the playbook of the Communist Manifesto, or Karl Marx, or Maduro down in Venezuela, or Fidel Castro. So the major policy proposal that she presented today had to do with our economy. She started off, make sure I got audio in there, young Malinoff. She started off by declaring that our country has come a long way in the last several years.
Our country has come a long way since President Biden and I took office.
Well, that's the truth. Let's talk about what the country has, what's happened to the country. Overall prices are up over 20%. Gasoline prices are up 50%. Energy bills are up 30%. And mortgage rates have tripled since Kamala Harris and Joe Biden took office. So I would completely agree with Kamala Harris that a lot has happened. She also wants you to know that there are very different visions for our nation.
So listen, this election...
I always love it when they say listen. She told you to listen, so you have to listen.
So listen, this election, I do strongly believe, is about two very different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future, and the other, focused on the past. We see that contrast clearly in many ways, including when it comes to how we think about the economy.
So she goes on to talk about how they think about the economy. They want the future of this country to resemble the past of some other countries like the Soviet Union. The major policy proposal presented by Kamala Harris today in Raleigh, North Carolina involves not only, well, one, they want to give $25,000. They're trying to give free money, free money, free money, free money. $25,000 for all of you first-time home buyers. Congratulations. We just guaranteed that the price of the cost of building a home will go up $25,000 or thereabouts. You know, the free market is not immune to movement amongst the government with regard to the amount of money that they can charge you for your new home. And they will. Especially when it's free money, free money, free money. But the biggest portion of her economic policy day was spent talking to us about price gouging, specifically price gouging on food. Kamala discussed her time working at Mickey D's when she was putting herself through college. And while there, she described how she saw working families working hard at McDonald's, having to work 2 and sometimes 3 jobs in order to put food on the table. Now, I guess this was back in the 1980s, I would guess. I don't think Kamala Harris, I mean, what is she, 60? How old is Kamala Harris? Let me guess. I'm going to get official guess, Malinoff. I don't know. I'm going to guess.
She's 59.
Well, I guess I don't get to guess because Jay Harper just told us how old she is. Thank you, Jay. I was going to guess, but that's okay.
That's what Jay gets. Trauma.
59. I was close. 60. Yeah. I would have gone 60. All right, so 59. So she's 9 years older than me.
Probably in the late 70s, I would say.
So yeah, late 70s, early 1980s. So she ought to be able to remember some of these times where we had gasoline lines and we had
dollar menu,
odd day, even day, and maybe even the dollar menu. Sure,
good times.
So she described what she called price gouging on the part of the corporate America that she likes to vilify so much. Her campaign said the first 100 days of her presidency would include the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, setting clear rules of the road to make clear that big corporations cannot unfairly exploit consumers and run up excessive corporate profit on food and groceries. What are these clear rules of the road? Not sure. What are these thresholds that determine when profit becomes a dirty word and excessive? Not sure, and they don't say. We do know that Kamala Harris co-sponsored Senator Elizabeth Warren's legislation in 2020 that would ban any, quote, grossly excessive price during any atypical disruption of the market. Sadly, no definition for either of those terms included in the legislation. Rather, they left that up to the Federal Trade Commission to enforce bans using, quote, any metric it deems appropriate. As put by the Washington Post in an editorial today, it is hard. When the Washington Post says this, we ought to listen up. It is hard to exaggerate how bad this policy is. It is, in all but name, a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every industry, not only food. Supply and demand would no longer determine prices or profits. Far-off Washington bureaucrats would. The Federal Trade Commission would be able to tell, say, a Kroger in Ohio the acceptable price it can charge for milk. At best, this would lead to shortages, black market, and hoarding, among other distortions seen previous times and many, many times in many, many different countries, including our own, that tried to limit growth of price by fiat. Now, there are narrow price gouging laws that I have fought against for years in various states. I don't know what the laws in Tennessee state, but I know the laws intimately in the state of Alabama because I fought against them for years. Because I am a purist when it comes to the economy, and I am a student of Milton Friedman. And price gouging laws are designed to emotionally impact those individuals that see a crisis and decide that they like capitalism so long as they don't actually need a product. And when they actually really, really need a product during hard times, they want to forego the basic principles of capitalism, skip over that, and demand that the government set prices for them. Now, I understand that the emotions of the moment often override the logic of our free market system. In other words, after a hurricane, people get all emotional about the price of a gallon of milk, or all emotional about the price of water, or emotional about the price of generators, for example, and they can't handle the market temporarily adjusting upward because of a limited amount of supply during those times of increased demand. And with that in mind, they expect and they demand that the government step in and control prices. I have learned to accept these state-by-state price gouging laws as a result of temporary emergency situations, like a hurricane or a tornado or that sort of thing. A natural disaster is a good example. What Kamala Harris wants to do is to create that natural disaster dynamic in everyday life all across the United States of America, where when it is determined by, I suppose, the consumer that they are being unfairly gouged, that the federal government will come in, step in, and take over the voice of the consumer and demand through federal fiat that the price get lowered. Well, what do you think is going to happen to the supply when you do that? And what do you think is going to happen to the demand when the supply gets even more scarce? The laws of supply and demand don't change. And naturally, if the supply goes up and the demand remains the same, the price goes down. Conversely, if the supply goes down and the demand remains the same, what happens to the price? It goes up. Well, if you limit that price, you're going to create scarcity. It's happened everywhere and in every country that has ever tried this. And all smart people know it. Even the Democrats that support it, they know what will happen, but they don't care. They don't care because they want control. And so you don't need me saying this. For you liberals listening in the audience that believe in the Washington Post, I mean, here they come. At worst, says the Washington Post, at best, you create shortages, you create black markets, and you create hoarding. At worst, you actually raise prices. And they say that's because, among other things, the legislation would ban companies from offering lower prices to a big customer such as a Costco or a Sam's Club than to Joe's Corner Market, which means quantity discounts will go off the table. Worse, it would require companies to publish detailed internal data about costs and margins and contracts. Think about this. The government would demand that companies that are public publish detailed information and data about their costs, the margins that they're making, their contracts with their suppliers, and future pricing strategies. They want companies in the United States of America to fairly compete, but they demand that they post cost and pricing plans publicly? What do you think is going to happen when they do that? I mean, think about this for a moment with me. So if Jeff Malinoff and Matt Murphy are competing and we both make widgets, and I'm working hard to make a cheaper widget than Malinoff, but I now, because of Kamala Harris, Malinoff has to post his costs. He has to post his pricing plan. And I know that his suppliers are charging him X amount for his plastic that he makes his widgets with. Well, I get plastic for cheaper than Malinoff can. I have a different supplier. But I see what he has to charge for his plastic widgets. And let's say it's $1 a widget. See, I don't know what his costs were. I don't know what his margins were. I don't know how much he's charging, and I don't know how much he's making. I just want to compete against him and win. So if he's charging $1, I'm trying to beat his cost, and I might be sinking into my margins to get better market share. But if I'm able to see all of that information, I can literally, if I could sell for 90 cents and I know he has to sell for $1, what am I going to do? I'm going to jack my price up to 98 cents, not 90 cents, 98 cents, because he can't compete with my price, and I know that now. It gives us an opportunity, without ever speaking, to collude with one another to raise prices, not to lower them. This is Kamala Harris. Is this making sense to everyone? Why an attempt at government control of the free market never leads to lower prices. It leads to scarcity or higher prices, and in fact, it leads to where they want to go all along. It leads to further government control over the private means of production. Where does all of this go? I said to my listening audience, not you guys because I wasn't in Nashville yet, but I have said for years that Barack Obama and the Democrats in 2009 never intended for Obamacare to be the end. It was a means to an end. That end was socialized medicine. They never expected that Obamacare would work, and it hasn't worked. But it is a designed plan to get you to a point where you're so frustrated you're willing to accept a single-payer system, also known as socialized medicine. Similarly, none of this is designed to lower costs. All of it's designed to further government control over the private means of production. I mean this, folks. You're dealing with socialists. It is not hyperbolic. It's not insane. It's right there in front of you, and they're not even hiding it anymore. Real quick, before we go to break and get to your calls, Kamala Harris said it out loud.
We know that many Americans don't yet feel that progress in their daily lives. Costs are still too high. And on a deeper level, for too many people, no matter how much they work, it feels so hard to just be able to get ahead.
They haven't done it in 4 years, and she's asking for 4 more years to do it. They haven't been able to do it. They created this, friends. And the ones that created this problem are now promising you, super, super serious, y'all, they'll fix it this time around. Oh, they'll fix it all right. They'll fix it with socialism. It is 222 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Did you know that the Defend and Defend Systems actually stands for something? I don't talk about this enough. Defend Systems, Defend, stands for deter, evade, fortify, evaluate, notify, and defend. Defend Systems means something to a lot of people. For me, it means that ultimate level of protection and that ultimate knowledge that you need in the unlikely scenario that something negative might come to your life in your workplace or in a place that people gather, like a school or a church setting. Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm, and they're right here in Middle Tennessee, but they are known regionally and truly nationwide as the go-to company for all things mass gathering, the go-to company to teach you about active shooter response or security improvement or emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training, all of that customized to your facility and customized for your employees or the people that work with you at a church or at a school setting. Let's get a plan together because hope is not a plan. It's time to get trained with Defend Systems. Call today to schedule an appointment at 236-6484, 615-236-6484, or go to defendsystems.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Defend Systems.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
New Jersey's governor has appointed a replacement for its U.S. senator that resigned because he was convicted of corruption charges. Also, a Tennessee plane crash takes the life of a popular race car driver. We'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
No doubt. Thank you, Jay Harper. And, you know, my man Jay St. Clair said that he was, I did not realize this, that Bloomquist, widely considered to be one of the greatest dirt track drivers of all time. Lost at the age of 60 years old. All right, it's the Murphy Show. We're here till 3 o'clock. We hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. Would love to hear from you, and you have responded in kind. I still have yet to get, I find it fascinating that the news cycle is as such that every American may have had our Social Security number stolen, and I've not brought it up yet. And that was like yesterday or day before yesterday.
I'm not worried about mine. What are they going to take?
Well, they could steal your identity and they could begin running up debt.
If they have every single person's, I'm at like, if we're ranking, okay, AP poll, I am like 273,000 in the AP poll.
Oh, like the AP poll of Social Security numbers?
Correct.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Elon Musk is like Georgia. You could put like Jeff Bezos is like, well, number one's Ohio State right now.
No, number one is Georgia right now. Ohio State's number one. Number one where?
In the polls, in the preseason polls.
In what poll?
I'll look it up right now. I think it's either AP or coaches.
That. You do that.
Ohio State is number one. I'm looking that stuff right now.
You do that. I'm going to wait. We're going to sit here while KGB offers misinformation, living up to his nickname. You go ahead, and I'll wait. You've looked it up now. You're getting ready for it. You're trying to find a source that you value and believe in. It's not as if Matt Murphy wasn't anxiously waiting for these useless preseason polls that mean nothing in terms of performance on the field. But when he saw them, he was very delighted that the coaches and the Associated Press, the press writers, the sports writers of America saw fit to put Georgia as the number one team in the country. One of the few times that you've seen a team ranked number one in back-to-back seasons in both the coaches and the Associated Press poll. I am waiting for my apology. Just anytime. We'll just move on. You want me to go to a call before you apologize to me?
I apologize. Well, also, I was reading a stupid ESPN article that had Ohio State at number one, not the actual AP. Mm-hmm. I knew Georgia was at AP number one. When I read this article from ESPN, I thought it was the coaches poll that had Ohio State number one, but they're both number two.
I think they wanted to put Ohio State.
I think that's exactly what it was.
But they claim.
Are you still bitter about last year that Georgia losing the SEC got them out of the 14 playoff, or do you think it was the right call?
No, in the aftermath of two consecutive national championship seasons, and understanding that we won every game during the regular season, I just watched the Tennessee victory again last night. but winning every game during the regular season. We had one job, and that was to beat Nick Saban in the SEC championship, and we did not accomplish that. I was fine with it. I know a lot of my Georgia brethren were very upset, and an argument could be made that it was ridiculous that we were left out of the 14 playoff, but recognizing that you had one game to win, you didn't win it, okay. We took care of our business with Florida State.
Well, Florida State was done for to begin with. They lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal. But to be fair, that 14 playoff, all four were conference champions. So it didn't make sense how Alabama was in it per se. But you can make the excuse that Georgia was better than Alabama, but they didn't win the game.
I don't know. You can't because we played them.
True.
And we lost. I mean, it is what it is. But this year, we're back and better than ever, baby. Jeff is in Hendersonville. Before we go to Jay Harper in the news, Jeff, you want to talk prices? Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, quick point and then an analogy in support of an analogy you made. So, okay, happy Friday, by the way.
Yes, sir.
And so quick point is, look, I've been a 30-year wine and spirits guy across the top 3 beverage companies in the world, big markets, and your pricing analogy was right on. And it's pretty scary because, what do you get when the state controls the means of production? It's called communism, folks, and they're open about it. So your analogy was right on, and the net result is loss of revenue, loss of jobs, and complete shock to our system that China did what they did in Hong Kong, and it's worked for them. But imagine what this would do to the U.S. It is absolute insanity that anybody is seriously considering voting for Kamala Harris. And then in terms of your analogy you made, so you were dead on your pricing analogy. And this is, again, from a guy who's done pricing in every channel there is, on-premise, off-premise, club, chain, you name it. And, her speaking about this kind of reminds me, did you ever see the movie Jackass?
Yeah, the show?
Yeah, the show, then they did the movie. Well, there's a scene in the movie, which I died laughing, but this is so perfectly encapsulates what her movement is all about, Kamala, is they rent a car. They rent a rental car, and they take it, and the thing's brand new. It's like a Chevy Chevelle or something. Mm-hmm. And they take it and they drive it straight to a demolition derby, and they drive right on the track.
Right.
They just absolutely destroy this car. They bring it back on a flatbed, and it looks like an F1 car that ran into the wall at 200 miles an hour. I mean, there's a tire left. I think that's the only thing that's recognizable is an automobile. And the rental car agent comes out there, and the guy's speechless. And I forget which one of the Jackass guys it was. He looks at the guy and he goes, "Hey, somebody's got to do something about this." That's exactly what we're dealing with here. So,
well, no, and I've got to, Jeff. I've got to scoot to the news. I'm way late, but I'll get to more on this in a moment because I want to talk about profit margins for supermarkets. There's more to be discovered coming up with Jay Harper in the news, and after that, more on us. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It's 2:32. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Partly sunny, 92 degrees. A full forecast is coming up. New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy today formally announcing his former chief of staff will replace resigning Senator Bob Menendez. He replaces Menendez, who says he's going to be resigning August 20th after he was convicted last month on federal corruption charges. Here is Governor Murphy.
Upon Senator Menendez's resignation, I will be appointing George Samir Helmy to represent New Jersey in the United States Senate.
And that gentleman, Helmy, is going to be the first Arab American in the U.S. Senate. Award-winning dirt track race car driver Scott Bloomquist, he has died after a plane crash earlier today in Hawkins County, Tennessee. According to the FAA, a single-engine Piper J3 crashed into a barn near Mooresburg, Tennessee at about 8 o'clock this morning. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office has confirmed to media outlets that Mr. Bloomquist was the only occupant of that aircraft. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy. Until 3 or thereabouts, we'll hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. We'll get to your calls momentarily. A lot of you responding on the membersnutrition.com super text line. 7148 says, I probably shouldn't even try to listen to 99.7. Price gouging? Smithfield dominates Kroger. Smithfield is China. Walmart, China. 70% of our produce, EU. They're organics, sprayed at transport to shipping, and again on arrival. Most imported vegetables come from nations giving travel warnings on water. The imported chicken and beef, they ate what I just mentioned. Places like Mexico are fighting the Monsanto battle we won over a decade ago. To date, no one will say where our produce, meat, and poultry are going. We only see fresh goods at about 30%. When Trump puts tariffs on China, all it does is make Mexico and Canada middlemen. Anybody understand what the point of that is?
All I know is China doesn't have any SEC titles.
That is true. Also, I don't know if I misspoke. 0095 says, didn't you just say you were Alabama, now Georgia, no Tennessee? I grew up in Georgia. I was born just outside of Augusta, Georgia, in a small town called Thompson, Thomson, no P in Thompson.
So their high school is coming. I believe it's that high school in Georgia that's going to play Lipscomb Academy soon.
You're probably thinking of Thomasville or Thomaston.
I was pretty sure it was called Thompson in Alabama, but I could be wrong. But they're ranked pretty high.
Okay, let me start over. I grew up in a small town in Georgia called Thompson, Thomson, in Thompson, Georgia, not Alabama. There is a Thompson with a P high school in Alabama.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
They're pretty good. They are actually in a town that I lived very close to, Alabaster. So I grew up in Thompson. I went to school in Carrollton, Georgia, college at West Georgia. It was West Georgia College. When I went there, it'll always be West Georgia to me. West Georgia College. It's now University of West Georgia or some hoity-toity nonsense. And then I moved to Connecticut for 9 or 10 months. If you only have a year to live, move to Connecticut. By the time you're done, you'll want to die. And then swung back down into Georgia for a brief moment, and then lived in Alabama for about 20 years before I came up here 3 years ago. Just trying to clarify. But I have always and will forever be a Georgia Bulldog when it comes to college football. As soon as I moved to the state of Tennessee, and more importantly to Nashville, I left the Atlanta Falcons behind, and I'm now a Tennessee Titan man. Have been for a long time. Although the Falcons look good now.
They did just get Matthew Judon, but he has not agreed to a contract yet. So that might have been all. That might be mute. But someone did just point in the chat line. China regarding my SEC comment. They do all that Nike junk is made there. So
that's true.
Touché.
That makes sense.
Does Georgia wear Nike gear, or they wear Adidas?
I don't really know.
I think they're Nike, because in that case they're back-to-back national champs. I know Alabama does, so they've won that title a couple of times.
Are there? I did not know this. You're teaching me something today. So there are different, depending on the team or the league, are the ones that
in the
set
NCAA,
contract.
the team, the school gets to do individual sponsorships with. So like
do the contracts. Okay,
for example, like Notre Dame is sponsored by Under Armour, so you see Under Armour logos on their jerseys.
Got it.
And Oklahoma is Jordan, which is ironic seeing a basketball player on a football jersey, but yeah.
Like Air Jordan?
Well, just they're sponsored by the Jordan brand. So when you see the Oklahoma Sooners game, if you go Red River Rivalry, they're wearing the Jordan logo on their jerseys.
Man, speaking of football, and I don't mean to get off on this. There are more important things to talk about, but I mean, have you seen our schedule, the Bulldog schedule? Ugh.
It's rough.
We have to play, just looking at it, and I understand Georgia's good, and I understand all that, and I'm excited. I'm very excited about the football season. We have 5 of the teams that we play, 5 of our 12 regular season games are against top 15 competition. We play the number 4, the number 5, and the number 6 teams at their place this year. Plus number 14 at a neutral site, number 15, that would be Tennessee, at our place.
Well, with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, you're getting 2 top 10 teams already, so it's going to be difficult regardless. And Michigan isn't getting an easier schedule either. I think they got a couple of tough games because of they're going SEC interconference games, so they're getting Texas, I think.
What's your
I went to the University
team?
of Arizona, so I'm a Wildcat. I support Arizona.
So you don't really have a football team?
No, they're good. They're ranked 21 in the polls. They were good last year. Fafita is a Heisman candidate. McMillan's going to be a number 1 first-round draft choice from a wide receiver standpoint. We have a good team.
My job is done. You guys hear his voice go up? That's my job is done here.
Hey, I understand Arizona.
Feisty.
Arizona has been terrible the last couple of years. Do not get me wrong. But the last year was a resurgence, if you will. Because in 2014, my freshman year, they were the highest ranked they've ever been since like 1993. So that was...
I love that 4460 on the super text line is saying that you're like Mac Borey Jr.
Oh, I love my sports.
No, I
get fired up.
I don't really need to. I don't mean to bring this comparison up, but before you became KGB, what did I call you?
No. I refuse. I refuse
but
to say
you
this.
sounded like him there.
Don't do
Your
it.
Your voice went up.
We're done with this.
What are you talking about, man?
I refuse to be compared. I put my foot down in there, and you know it. Don't say it.
They know.
If you're my friend, if you call me your friend, if you're my friend, you won't mention it again.
Okay.
Thank you.
I won't mention it again.
Yeah, that almost caught on. Thank God it didn't.
What, the Mandis Jr.
Ah! I'm out.
Keith is next. Hello, Keith. We were talking prices of food and other things a minute ago, and you wanted to talk about it. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I had a comment about tips too, but I don't know if you got time for me to get into that. But
let's do it.
Okay, well, quickly about tips. For years, I have told businesses, why don't you include a line at the bottom that says gifts? And if they want to give a gift, they can give a gift. A gift isn't taxable. A tip is, but anyway, that's always been my solution. I gave somebody a $20 gift a while ago for helping me with something, you know. I told them I paid it with a credit card and turned around and said, here's some cash. This is a gift. This is not a tip. You don't have to claim this as income. And they were like, oh, wow, okay. Anyway, have you heard that before?
I've not heard the gift idea, but I kind of like it. But hopefully Donald Trump will be president and he will remove taxes on tips anyway, and so it'll be a moot point. You know,
that's okay. All right. So as far as the price gouging thing or whatever, you know, years ago, back when Moby Dick was still a minnow, I was a voting Democrat, and I probably voted for Mondale and Dukakis, but during the time I was taking classes for a business degree, majoring in marketing, and I had to take microeconomics, macroeconomics, and I even took something called government economics, which was about as understandable as Kamala Harris is. But we got into something that we talked about was elasticity and inelasticity, and I don't want to make everybody's eyes glass over, but basically something is elastic if you will replace it or not get it. So if a price goes up 10% and the demand of it goes down, 10% or 20% even, something that like going out to restaurants, as prices went up incrementally, maybe to 20% higher, you probably saw a drop of 30, 40, 50% of the people going to the restaurant because they can't afford it. Because there's certain things in our market that, like fuel, that are inelastic. People have to have fuel.
Right.
They're not going to miss going to work. And then you get into people borrowing money because they probably pay their electricity and everything else online. So they're hitting that directly into their bank account.
Well,
then they're turning around and using their credit card. Go ahead.
Let's go to the heart of what Kamala Harris was talking about today. She was discussing excessive corporate profits when it comes to food. Do you know, Keith, off the top of your head, or do you care to venture a guess? Do you know what the grocery industry's profit margin was last year? Just on the whole, the grocery industry.
Probably under 10%, I would think. That's what I'm thinking.
1.6%. It's one of the lowest profit margins of any business. I mean, normally publicly traded companies normally make around 8% profit margin. The profit margin in the grocery industry is 1.6%. It peaked in 2020 at 3%. And this is the Kamala Harris that wants to go after the grocery industry and try to, quote unquote, set price. It's a load of garbage. I got to run, Keith. Thank you. I want to get to Larry real quick. Larry, thank you for your call. Only about a minute or so here, but it's yours. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I served in Germany in the from 81 to 83, and my wife and I had the opportunity to have flag orders and drive from Checkpoint Alpha to Checkpoint Charlie, which was Helmstadt to Berlin. And being able to go in Berlin with our orders that we had and seeing the economic situation, everything at the market plots was a dog and pony show. You would go about 2 clicks away, which approximately 1.8 miles, and you would see it was unbelievable. It was like going back into the 30s. The economic situation the people were in, the pricing and everything. And I always told my wife, I said, I pray to God we never see that, and doggone her if we're not staring it in the face right now. It blows my mind.
Well, blows mine as well. Look, there's a lot to be said about this plan, and we'll continue discussing it moving forward. I've run out of time right now. We're going to check in with Brian Wilson and see what's on the docket this afternoon. I have no doubt that Brian Wilson will be all over this quote-unquote economic speech delivered by Kamala Harris a little earlier today, one of which that we were dissecting for you as well. Real quick note. When I first got to Talk 99 or Super Talk 99.7 WTN, I had the pleasure of being introduced to Victoria Jackson. Victoria Jackson is a Saturday Night Live alum that lives in Franklin, Tennessee. We had her on the show. I had her on the show for 2 hours, and I jokingly said that talking to Victoria Jackson is like holding a box of frogs. It's just all over the place. Victoria Jackson just recently announced on social media that she battled cancer, breast cancer, some years ago, and she's now announced that her breast cancer has returned and that it's inoperable and that she believes she has roughly 3 years to live. She's 65 years of age. I just wanted to note that if you're listening, Victoria, we're thinking about you. You've been a part of the Super Talk 99.7 WTN family for a long time. What a delight. You were a part of my family when I was a kid growing up watching Saturday Night Live, and it was a delight getting to know you, and we're praying for you, and we wish you the best. We'll check in with Brian Wilson next. All right, friends, Kraft Body Scan wants you to get yourself checked. We were just talking about lungs and heart and the things that can happen in your body before you know it. Well, what about a Kraft Body Scan from what about a body scan, I should say, a CT scan from Kraft Body Scan? Kraft Body Scan offers a heart and lung scan at $149. This is a value of over $2,500. Now, this is a couple scan, meaning you bring your loved one, you bring your spouse or your significant other, and they'll scan that person too at no additional charge, $149. We've heard stories of lives saved by these scans, and you could be the next one in line. They find things before you feel things. Take a proactive step toward better health through an early detection CT scan today. Book your couple's heart and lung scan at togetherwescan.com. Togetherwescan.com or call 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000 for our friends at Kraft Body Scan.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk? Okay.
TALK.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like. You're going to run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete the cement to glue themselves in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass,
on the
leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're battling it.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy winding down. Brian Wilson about to crank up. Brian joins us right now, and I have a very important question to ask Mr. Wilson. So the fair is coming to Wilson County. I went to the fair.
It's already here.
I mean, it's there. Yeah, that's true. And I went to the fair with the wife last year and absolutely loved it. It's a wonderful place, and I encourage all to go. Here's my question, Brian. I'm giving you one of these three choices. These are your three choices.
Okay.
Funnel cake, fried Oreos, or a corn dog. Where are you going? Where are you going? Did you?
Is there any question?
It's a great answer.
If it's fried, I'll try it.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Now, too bad we had our own big excitement in Watertown today. I want you to see if you know what this is. You ready?
I've seen it. I was going to ask you if that was in Water. Man, all the great things happen in Watertown. How'd y'all get the Wienermobile?
The Wienermobile. That's my wiener whistle. It came today, and I went over and looked at it. I mean, I think there's one thing we can check off the bucket list for sure. I got to look at, touch, and talk with the Wienermobile drivers. It was great. I feel like I can die now a happy man because I've had my Wienermobile experience.
In the midst of all of the conversation about the presidential contest, economic policy, will we get a rundown of the Wienermobile today on the drive?
At some point, I'll talk about it in greater detail. Okay. Now, I will say that I think that the brilliant thing has happened, that we've finally gotten the right nickname for Kamala Harris. She's going to bring Soviet-style price controls, so we're going to call her Comrade Kamala. It's all coming up at 3 o'clock on the drive.
Brian Wilson is on the way next, friends, for there he is, a Friday edition of The Drive, which is on the way next, right after Jay Harper's newscast, which is coming up right now. Cannot wait for the communist Kamala discussion. The economic policy, it ain't good, friends. Plus, a full rundown of what's inside the Wienermobile. America, Nashville, Tennessee, we need to know. And Brian Wilson has answers for us starting at 3 o'clock right after Jay Harper's news. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, friends. I hope you hug your loved ones. Have a great time. Beware of some of the storms moving through today and tomorrow. And we'll talk to you on Monday. Until then, so long.